Today, we answer a bar-relevant and litigation-heavy question. When a party alleges reproductive or sexual incapacity, what medical evidence is legally sufficient? Is mere inability to conceive enough? Is impotence equivalent to psychological incapacity? What kind of expert testimony is required? And under Philippine law, what statutes and jurisprudence govern? This lecture integrates family code doctrine, rules of court, evidentiary standards, and medical legal principles. Core legal distinctions. Impotence, in the context of marriage law, refers to the physical inability to consummate the marriage, meaning the inability to engage in sexual intercourse. Under Article 45(5) of the Family Code, this may be a ground for annulment, but only if three strict requirements are met. First, the incapacity must have existed at the time of the celebration of the marriage. Second, it must be permanent. And third, it must be incurable. Temporary dysfunction, psychological reluctance, or treatable conditions do not qualify. The law requires true physical impossibility, not mere refusal or difficulty. In short, annulment on this ground demands clear proof of a permanent and incurable bodily incapacity present from the beginning of the marriage. Now let's distinguish between two terms, permanent and incurable. Under Article 45(5), physical incapacity must be both permanent and incurable. These legal terms are related, but they are distinct. Permanent refers to duration. It means the incapacity is not temporary or episodic. It is continuing and ongoing, not situational, not stress-induced, and not occasional. The condition persists over time. Now, the term incurable, on the other hand, refers to medical prognosis. It means the condition cannot be corrected by treatment, surgery, medication, or therapy. Even if the incapacity has lasted for years, if there is reasonable medical possibility of cure, it is not legally incurable. So legally, a condition may be long-standing but still medically treatable, that is, permanent but not incurable. Conversely, a condition may be incurable but must also be shown to actually persist and prevent consummation. Otherwise, permanence is not established. The law requires both elements to prevent annulment based on temporary dysfunction or treatable medical issues. In short, permanent equals enduring fact, incurable equals medically not correctable. Both must be proven with competent medical evidence. Jiming Choi versus Court of Appeals case. What was alleged? The wife sought declaration of nullity under Article 36, psychological incapacity. The marriage was never consummated, despite repeated attempts. The husband persistently refused sexual intercourse. What was physically proven in this case? Was impotence proven? There was no conclusive medical finding that the husband was physically impotent. The court did not rule on Article 45(5) or the physical incapacity to consummate. The case was decided under Article 36. The court made a crucial doctrinal distinction. Mere non-consummation is not automatically physical impotence. However, a persistent, unjustified refusal to have sexual relations may be evidence of psychological incapacity when it reflects a deeply rooted inability to perform essential marital obligations. The court stated that a spouse who refuses sexual intercourse without just cause and whose refusal is so grave and persistent as to frustrate the very essence of marriage may be psychologically incapacitated. Why was it psychological, not physical? This is because there was no showing of organic or physiological defect in this case. The refusal appeared behavioral and psychological. The conduct showed a profound inability to perform marital obligations. Marriage necessarily entails sexual intimacy. A refusal so fundamental and permanent may show incapacity, not mere unwillingness. So, what are the core doctrines that we get in this case? That physical impotence equals bodily dysfunction, and psychological incapacity equals inability to perform essential marital obligations. The court treated the husband's persistent refusal not as a proven physical impotence, but as evidence of psychological incapacity under Article 36. We have to clarify that the court did not say refusal automatically equals psychological incapacity. It emphasized that the refusal must be grave, persistent, and show inability, not just willingness. Sterility, it's the inability to reproduce. Sterility by itself is not a statutory ground for declaration of nullity of marriage under Article 35 of the Family Code and for annulment of marriage under Article 45 Family Code. While sterility is not a ground for nullity of annulment, it may become legally relevant in specific contexts. First, paternity disputes. If a spouse claims sterility yet DNA evidence establishes biological parentage, sterility becomes evidentiary. In this setting, it is not about marriage validity but about filiation and proof under the rule on DNA evidence. Second, allegations of fraud. If sterility was intentionally concealed and the deception was material to consent, it may be argued within the framework of fraud under Article 46, though the courts apply this narrowly. Third, psychological incapacity cases. If sterility is linked to a grave psychological disorder that renders a spouse incapable of fulfilling essential marital obligations, it may be relevant as supporting evidence, but not as the ground itself. The key rule remains: sterility alone does not invalidate marriage. It may support a legal issue, but it is not by itself a statutory ground. Alcazar versus Alcazar. In this case, the Supreme Court reaffirmed a fundamental principle under the Family Code. Sterility or the inability to procreate is not a ground for annulment of marriage. The court clarified that Article 45(5) refers strictly to physical incapacity to consummate the marriage, meaning inability to perform sexual intercourse. It does not refer to infertility. The ruling emphasized the classical distinctions between impotentia coeundi, which is the inability to have sexual intercourse, and impotentia generandi, which is the inability to produce offspring. Only the former may fall under Article 45(5), provided it is permanent and incurable. Even permanent or incurable sterility does not render a marriage voidable. In practical terms, the law recognizes consummation as the physical sexual act, not the inability to conceive children. A spouse may be infertile, yet fully capable of consummating the marriage and performing essential marital obligations. Therefore, Philippine courts treat sterility as medically relevant but legally insufficient as a ground for annulment. This case is particularly significant because it squarely addresses infertility within the framework of annulment doctrine and reaffirms the long-standing rule that the validity of marriage is not conditioned on the capacity to bear children. Marriage is not a fertility contract. It is a juridical union grounded on consent and essential marital obligations, not reproductive success. Psychological incapacity under Article 36 is not mere incompatibility, immaturity, or marital conflict. It is a serious juridical ground that requires proof of three elements: gravity, juridical antecedents, and incurability. Let's go to gravity. The condition must be serious enough to render the spouse incapable, not merely unwilling, to perform essential marital obligations such as fidelity, mutual support, cohabitation, and respect. Ordinary marital problems do not qualify. The incapacity must strike at the core of the marital relationship. Second, juridical antecedents. The root cause of the incapacity must have existed at the time the marriage was celebrated, even if it became evident only later. The psychological structure causing the incapacity must clearly have been present when consent was given. This prevents Article 36 from being used for problems that developed only after marriage. We go to incurability. The condition must be enduring and resistant to treatment. It need not be medically impossible to cure, but it must be so deeply rooted that the spouse cannot realistically perform marital obligations. Temporary issues or treatable conditions do not suffice. In summary, the incapacity must be serious, pre-existing, and enduring. Psychological incapacity is a legal conclusion supported by medical and factual evidence, not just a diagnostic label. A recent Supreme Court decision A recent Supreme Court decision in Republic versus Tangarorang, decided in 2025, reaffirmed Article 36 of the Family Code. Psychological incapacity is a valid ground to void a marriage when it renders a spouse incapable of fulfilling essential marital obligations. The court explained that this incapacity must be shown by the totality of evidence. It must be serious and rooted before or at the time of the marriage, and not merely reflect ordinary character flaws or temporary marital issues. This case is valuable because it shows how the Supreme Court in a 2025 ruling continues to apply and refine the doctrine of psychological incapacity, emphasizing that the legal concept focuses on enduring inability to assume marital duties, not just medical diagnosis or personality quirks. This slide is foundational because many legal errors arise from confusing medical diagnosis with legal conclusions. First, medicine describes conditions while the law assigns consequences. A physician may diagnose erectile dysfunction, azoospermia, polycystic ovarian syndrome, hypogonadism, or personality disorder. But the court does not automatically convert this into annulment or nullity. Now, let's go to the next slide. So this slide compares impotence, sterility, and psychological incapacity in the light of the recent ruling under Tanandal versus Andal. In this case, the Supreme Court clarified that psychological incapacity is a legal concept, not strictly a medical one. It need not be medically labeled or classified under the DSM. What matters is whether the totality of evidence shows a serious and enduring inability to perform essential marital obligations. Expert testimony is no longer indispensable. Courts may rely on credible lay testimony and factual patterns demonstrating incapacity. This distinguishes psychological incapacity from both impotence and sterility. Impotence concerns bodily impossibility, while again, sterility concerns reproduction. Psychological incapacity concerns juridical incapacity to assume marital obligations. So Tanandal's case shifted the focus from rigid clinical proof to functional incapacity grounded in evidence. Medical evidence to prove or disprove impotence, sterility, and psychological incapacity. To prove impotence under Article 45.5, the evidence must establish true physical impossibility to consummate the marriage. Objective medical tests are crucial. Vascular studies, hormonal panels, neurologic exams. The incapacity must exist at the time of marriage, be permanent, and be incurable. Temporary dysfunction or treatable conditions are insufficient. Medical records must demonstrate a structural or organic cause, not mere performance anxiety or refusal. Lay testimony establishes factual non-consummation, but expert testimony proves medical incapacity. The petitioner must show that the condition is permanent and incurable. The respondent may present contrary medical opinion, proof of treatment options, or evidence that the issue is psychological rather than physical. The battle often centers on prognosis and medical certainty. To challenge a medical evidence, attack methodology and prognosis. Was the evaluation comprehensive? Were alternative treatments considered? Is the dysfunction stress-related or situational? Most importantly, can the expert prove the condition existed at the time of marriage? The legal threshold is strict. Mere difficulty is not impotence. Sterility, on the other hand, refers to inability to reproduce. Medical proof may include semen analysis, hormonal panels, ovarian reserve testing, and imaging studies. However, sterility alone does not invalidate marriage. Its legal relevance arises only in related issues such as paternity disputes, fraud claims, or evidentiary rebuttal. Fertility is not a validity requirement of marriage. In litigation, sterility must be legally contextualized. A petitioner may attempt to link sterility to fraud or psychological incapacity. A respondent should emphasize that infertility is not a statutory ground under the family code. Expert testimony establishes medical fact, but the court decides legal relevance. Challenge sterility evidence by questioning certainty. Was infertility confirmed through repeat testing? Is it temporary or age-related? Are assisted reproductive technologies possible? Even permanent sterility does not invalidate marriage, so relevance must be strictly scrutinized. Under Tanandal, psychological incapacity is a legal concept, as I have said. Expert testimony is helpful but not indispensable. Courts look at the totality of evidence, which are clinical findings, behavioral history, and testimony. The key question is whether the spouse is truly incapable, not merely unwilling, to perform essential marital obligations. Lay witnesses often establish behavioral patterns. For example, abandonment, abuse, refusal of support. Experts may explain underlying disorders. The petitioner must show the incapacity is serious and enduring. The defense will argue that the conduct reflects ordinary marital difficulty, not juridical incapacity. Psychological evidence is often vulnerable. Was there a personal clinical examination? Is the diagnosis based solely on one-sided interviews? Is the condition treatable? Did the problematic behavior arise only after marriage? Under Tanandal, courts reject conclusory labels and require concrete evidence of incapacity. As we conclude, remember this central principle. Medical evidence informs the court, but it does not automatically determine the legal outcome. Impotence concerns physical impossibility and requires proof of permanence and incurability. Sterility concerns reproduction, but it is not a statutory ground for nullity or annulment. Psychological incapacity under Tanandal is a juridical concept. What matters is whether the spouse is truly incapable of performing essential marital obligations. A diagnosis alone does not void a marriage. The evidence must meet the statutory threshold. In these cases, the decisive question is not merely what the medical condition is, but whether it satisfies the legal standards. End of presentation.